Hello everyone, my name is Samilas Larkhail and my topic for today is why should body cams on police officers and why it should be mandatory in every state. Before I start my topic, here are my audience right here.
Hello.
So my question is, have you guys ever come across a video online being posted for a police officer where it could be either the civilian or the police officer posting their body cam, or a civilian recording a police officer without having two sides of a story? We always come across or tend to come across a one-sided story without knowing the other side of the story.
Yeah.
So that's exactly my point here. If every police officer has a body cam, you have a two-sided story where you can see the action and transparency of the police officer and the civilian.
Yeah.
And how that saves everything is that it creates trust between the civilian and the police. And my thesis for this would be that's why it is pretty important to have body cameras on every police officer in every state. So now that we have learned about this, I will go into the effects of why this is important. First of all, it creates transparency between the civilian and the police officer. That was my first point. But the effects that it brings us is that, let's just say, a civilian could wrongfully sue a police officer if there is no body camera. That's the first problem. Second problem, a police officer could be corrupt and could use police brutality against a civilian. Second problem. Third problem, it prolongs a court case of either a civilian or a police officer without having significant proof. Hence why these are the effects of not having a body cam. And now that we have learned about the effects of not having a body cam, we learn about the causes of why this causes. A lot of times, a lot of police departments in small towns don't have enough funding from federal government. So they don't tend to have the programs or the funding. And the training aspect was the first point. The second point is the state government, they don't tend to give them as much funding from taxes. Hence why this causes a problem, because they don't get significant training and funds from the government to departments. And the third reason is privacy reasons. A lot of police officers do not feel maybe comfortable recording such situation because it could cause them to be more transparent or more professional at their job. Third problem. Before I start that, I'm gonna show you guys a video of a female talking about this problem of body cam on YouTube.
Models that can be programmed to automatically report when the camera detects an action, or if the car reaches a certain speed, or when an officer pulls a taser or a gun from a holster. The cameras themselves don't cost that much. The real pain point for budgets is the storage. These cameras require cloud storage for thousands of hours of video. You figure that every officer maybe records 3 or 4 hours of video in a shift. And how long that video is stored is sometimes set by local guidelines. It could be days, months, or years. Now, for a large police department, storage could run into the millions of dollars. A study by the nonprofit Police Executive Research Forum found large departments could spend anywhere from $30,000 to $4 million a year on storage. It's at the point where some departments are pulling out of using cameras just because of the costs. A recent report from the Washington Post cited a few examples. The Wahoo, Nebraska Police Department, they were looking at $15,000 yearly storage bills for a team of only 5 officers. Over in Arlington County, Virginia, the police department has said,
I wouldn't prolong this as much. I was showing you a visual aid of basically what my effect and causes were right here. I said they don't get enough funding, which, as I said, it is a pretty expensive program to run, even telling my audience, and that's the problem. If we don't have that, for transparency is what you pay your cost. If you're not able to pay that cost, you're not going to get transparency between your civilian and the police officer. And I have a few quotes right here. First from Ariel in 2015. It says that the body cams that were wear by police officers reduced the force of complaints between a police officer and citizens. So that goes to show one study that was conducted. And second study that was conducted by Ariel again in 2016, that it exposes a large police departments using the body cameras. It emphasizes on them using their policies way stricter, being more transparent. So that also means that the police officers had to be more professional, more transparent, because they had body cameras, basically accountability. And the third one is from Voyaged in 2017, and this research showed that the language tone of them talking to a civilian was very different from talking to a white person than a black person, even though both parties were compliant. So that basically tends to show you that, see, even though why body cameras on every police officer are important, because even though both parties are compliant, they're still treated differently due to political, or it could be different problems. The fourth code is by Ray in 2014. It showed that the body cameras that were shown by the police officer reduced more racial slur from civilians, like people who might be talking about bad to the police, because they know they could be held accountable because they're being recorded. So now that we have learned all this, we could talk about the solutions. The solution for this is basically government giving more funding, more training, and directing the civilian taxes more towards this department or policing, so it creates more transparency between everyone. And now that we're done with this, my closing would be that now we have learned about all of this, we come to understand that our taxes could be used in better resources than it could be anywhere else, because this brings transparency in between our community too, because the police is the second force that keeps us safe in our community. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And these are my audience again. Bye.